Hi everybody, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to my talk. I'm Sreeram, founder of EIGEN. Today I'm going to talk about the state of the EIGEN universe. So you may have seen some of my earlier talks where I mostly talk about the future. Today I'm going to talk about the present and what we've done till now. Okay, so firstly, what are we all about? The core principle at EIGEN is open innovation. We want to let anybody who wants to build new services build on top of EIGEN. How do we do this? If you look at like a blockchain's architecture, there are four fundamental layers: security, staking or mining, consensus, nodes come to agreement, execution, you run an execution environment like Bitcoin script or EVM, applications built on top. And Bitcoin vertically integrated all of these to offer the first decentralized token, the Bitcoin. You know, the main purpose of the Bitcoin blockchain is to send and receive Bitcoins. What Ethereum did is to modularize this further, where Ethereum said, hey, I'm going to let anybody come and build apps on top of a common trust system. So the first modular blockchain is Ethereum, because Ethereum created the idea that apps can be built as modules on top of a common substrate. And so this allowed innovation, and all the smart contracts that we see today is a consequence of this architecture. And then you go further, and then like what happened was Ethereum went into the roll-up era. In the roll-up era, what's happening is the execution is also open innovation. Anybody can come and build a new execution layer. Now, if you're building a roll-up, you can have your own execution environment and prove to Ethereum that you did the right thing. So again, expanding the scope of innovation. That's why we see a sprawling set of L2s today in Ethereum. What EIGEN is doing is taking this permissionless innovation and making it even deeper. So now, even in Ethereum today, you can't go and change the consensus protocol, how nodes come to agreement. You can't ask the nodes to store more, run different hardware, stake a different token, none of that stuff. And that's what EIGEN allows you to do. It's a common layer of shared security where you can actually run arbitrary new consensus protocols, new execution layers, and applications on top. Okay, so any crypto service should be able to be built on EIGEN. That's the core idea. So what is EIGEN? EIGEN is a four-sided marketplace. I'm seeing three sides here: stakers, people who bring in money and make promises that they're running the right thing; operators, bring computational resources to actually run these services; AVS developers. AVS is actively validated service. Any service built on EIGEN is called an AVS. So these three services come together on the EIGEN platform. But all of this is only useful if it's serving some end-user applications. So stakers, operators, and AVS developers come together to serve AVS consumers. So it's extremely hard to build a four-sided marketplace. The first time, Chris Jury, who was an exec at AWS, when I met him, I told him, hey, we're building this four-sided marketplace in 2022. And he said, you must be crazy. There's no way to bootstrap a four-sided marketplace. And he joined us later as COO and on this adventure together. And the way we do it is go one side at a time. We started on mainnet last year, June 2023, with staking. So staking went live. Then we opened up to operators in November last year on testnet and April this year on mainnet. Again, AVS went live earlier this year, and consumers are starting to use it. So I'm going to explain today what we're doing on each of these sides, so you know what we're building. So firstly, we invented the idea of restaking. Now it's become a whole industry category. Furthermore, there is a subcategory, liquid restaking tokens, invented on EIGEN, and now spreading to all of crypto. So even though we have this massive proliferation of this core idea, EIGEN is the only native restaking protocol till date. What does it mean by native restaking? You stake in a core protocol like Ethereum, and then you can also restake, which means participate in all these other services without having to trust an external operator or a liquid staking protocol. You can just do it yourself. And this means both institutions and home stakers alike can participate in the EIGEN economy, unlike other systems. Okay, so how are we doing on adoption on the staking side? You'll see news like this that, oh, the TVL of EIGEN is down by 10 billion. And actually, let's see what the reality is. So here's the plot of the TVL, the total value logged in the EIGEN protocol over time. And what you see is actually, it's up and to the right. And why is this happening? So, you see it's roughly fluctuating around 5 million ETH. Why are these people saying that the T-bill of EIGEN is down? It's because they're measuring it in US dollars, and ETH to USD is down. So it's nothing to do with EIGEN. I don't know how they do these calculations, but this is where the EIGEN protocol is on the staker side. So going beyond that, one of our core principles is rapid iteration, listen to users, make things better. Here's an example of a core developer in the ecosystem, Left Eris, and he was very worried that the EIGEN protocol staking and claiming rewards very expensive. This was back in May. We took his feedback, we improved the protocol, and in September, this is Left Eris' tweet saying, hey, instead of saying, hey, I'm troubling you guys with all these bad comments, we actually improved the protocol, invented something really new, which reduced the gas costs like 10x. So that's how we do it. We take feedback from the community and then iterate our products so that we can actually deliver really sophisticated experiences. Operators. So we talked about stakers, the first side. Operators. Operators can now run a variety of nodes, which means you can run CPU, you can run GPU for like AI acceleration or decentralized proving, trusted execution environments. You can run it on bare metal. You can run it on all kinds of different nodes. So operators on EigenLayer, all the top operators have come together to help support us, starting from Coinbase, Figma, P2P, Google Cloud, all the top operators in the space. Really glad to have them, in addition to home stakers and operators in the Ethereum ecosystem. Okay, so talked about stakers and operators. Let's go to the next side of the marketplace, AVSs, actively validated services. You should think of AVSs as the heartbeat of a restaking or of the EigenLayer ecosystem. Why is this? AVS is where some developer comes in and is building a new breakthrough service on top of EigenLayer, and when you're choosing a platform for building your service, you want to make sure that the platform has enough robustness, enough rigidity, that when you're building it, it's going to last for at least 4 years. So it's a very hard choice for developers, and as leaders in the ecosystem, we've actually cultivated this new category. Creating a category is very, very difficult. We've done this many, many times till now in the EigenLayer ecosystem. And one of the things we see is this idea of actively validated services now being used all over the industry. And here is an example from our friends in Solana. Finally a real use for restaking in the Solana ecosystem, distributed policy enforcement. The Squads protocol, which we really like, is using it. And they were saying, this is something new that only invented on Solana. Actually, Ethos, one of our protocols on EigenLayer, invented this idea of the decentralized policy engine, back in February. And what we see is basically innovators, inventors coming and inventing some of the best, coolest stuff in crypto on EigenLayer. And many, many such use cases. I'm going to talk about a few here. I gave a talk on what is an actively validated service, what are the categories of new things that can be created. When people think about restaking, they think, go run a new chain. That's not interesting. Actively validated service means you can think of any off-chain service that you can offer with high trust guarantees. That's what an actively validated service is. On EigenLayer, you see a massive category of AVSs. So the idea was that, hey, we should let the ecosystem create these categories 1 year back. And then what we see today is in every one of these categories, roll-up services, whether it's sequencing, bridging, MEV, watchtowers, co-process, AI inference, Linux, running a Linux node, databases, ZK provers, all these categories, we see there's at least one, many of these categories being built today. So AVSs, actively validated services, they bring the innovation, the invention into the ecosystem. Today there are 18 on mainnet, 40 on testnet, and 100 plus projects built on EigenLayer in various stages of development. They have gone beyond what we proposed last year in inventing and defining new categories. This is the thesis of open innovation. Who would have guessed in 2014 when Ethereum launched what applications will become popular? Nobody knows. It's because when you make permissionless innovation easy, many people come in and invent. And that's what we see happening It's rollup services, we see deepen, we see new cryptography, like fully homomorphic encryption. If you look at all computation today, it's all, in blockchains, they're all done plain text, but you want privacy, so can you do computation on encrypted data directly? So fully homomorphic encryption, we see ZK-TLS, which is basically the idea that I can log into my Uber or my Bank of America or PayPal and prove to a blockchain that I have a certain balance or I have a certain credit history, any of these things into EigenLayer and Ethereum. DeFi, intelligent DeFi is a new category that is being created, which is when you're running your DeFi protocols, can I bring additional intelligence, AI co-processors, all of these stuff to bear on your mainnet operations. Pre-confirmations, when I'm running an Ethereum node, can I promise to you that I'm going to confirm your L2 transaction before an Ethereum block is made? Really breakthrough stuff, all happening on EigenLayer. So when you have all these different sides, staker, operator, AVSs, how do you bring them together and create a functioning economy? That's something we put in a lot of thought. However, our original model, we had this idea of shared security. Shared security means if you stake and opt into 10 AVSs, all your ETH or whatever tokens could be slashed by any of these AVSs. So one of the problem with this, one of our community members and founders in our space, in our ecosystem, Jane, observed that, hey, when you do this, what happens is there is no incentive for an AVS. Let's say I have $10 billion of stake and there are hundreds of AVSs. Why should I pay a lot to grow the stake? Because it's all common stake. So this leads to the tragedy of commons. So what we did is we took this feedback, not only from Jane, but from the broader community, actually invented a new mechanism called unique security. In unique security, what happens is when you're staking, you promise that a portion of your stake can only be slashed by a certain AVS. So if you're an AVS, you're like, hey, I want high quality assurance. Then what you do is you want more unique security. So now for the first time, what happens is AVSs want to pay. So if there is 100 AVSs, each of them want $1 billion of stake. Together, you get $100 billion of stake. So this is a reimagination of the core economics of EigenLayer. And we go back and see what our ecosystem members say. Ismail, founder of Lagrange, building on EigenLayer, says, hey, actually this solves our fundamental problem of how to do payments in such a way that we are guaranteed a unique portion of stake. Okay, so another issue that came up, when you think about EigenLayer, earlier we had this model of shared security. When you have shared security, if one AVS goes berserk and slashes everybody, then you're in deep trouble. The protocol is in deep trouble because there's a contagion risk. And so what we did is we invented, with the invention of unique security, we said, now you don't need a permission committee to decide whether slashing is valid or not. So there's no veto committee anymore and no permission for an AVS to build on EigenLayer. Anybody can come and build whatever they want. So, here's Shapiro, a super lawyer in the crypto space. He said, hey, EigenLayer slashing is all social slashing. This is back, several months before. And then after he saw our new proposal, it's like, wow, and just like that, EigenLayer fixed most of its issues. So we're not only building a protocol based on ideas that we already have, but listening keenly to our users and the community to see how we can improve it. Beyond EigenLayer, we're building a product called EigenDA, which is a hyperscale data availability service. Many people wonder, why is the restaking protocol building a data availability service? What is restaking? Restaking is economic security. You promise that if something goes wrong, any harmed party can trigger slashing, enforce the correct economics. However, for a slash party to enforce the economics, they need access to the data. I don't even know what the data is. How am I going to challenge that this computation is wrong? So if you're running an AVS, if you're running a crypto economic security system, it's only as secure as the data availability layer that it's built on. And all the copycats of like restaking don't understand this because they're not thinking from first principles. And what happens is, unless you have a hyperscale data availability system, you can't just offer crypto economic security. So, but it raises a new problem. You need a DA, a data availability system, where you can publish data and anybody can access it, which is more throughput than all these services put together. How do you build such a thing? Seems like impossible. If you think of each AVS as like a chain, I have to run now like many, many chains on top of a common system. And that's exactly what we did with EIGEN. So here's the recent experiment we did. EIGEN is a service we built running on mainnet. And this website, www.eigenda.wtf, you can go and check out what is going on. What we do is we crawl every chain, all the top chains we can get our hands on, and then write the data to EIGEN. And even so, we've only been able to fill half of the throughput of EIGEN. And we're improving it simultaneously. What chains am I talking about? Am I talking about just like low throughput chains like Bitcoin? No, this is everything. This is Bitcoin, this is Ethereum, this is Celestia, this is Solana, this is Optimism, Arbitrum Base, everything that we can get our hands on, we write to EIGEN. Why are we building a DA? Like I said, DA is the kingpin to make sure your crypto economic security actually works, because if your data is not available, nobody can challenge it. So this is the only, why are we able to do it when nobody else is able to do it? It's the only horizontally scaled system. What do we mean by horizontally scaled system? It means as you get more nodes, you get more throughput. We have many partners which are adopting it, both chains like Celo, which were an L1 and want to come to Ethereum, use EIGEN, but also new projects like MegaETH want to build hyperscale rollups they build on EIGEN. So EIGEN serves another purpose to the EigenLayer ecosystem, which is to bootstrap consumers. Imagine like there are many app rollups using EIGEN. Then it's very easy for them to integrate other EigenLayer services, consume other AVSs. So there's a cross-network effect between EIGEN and AVSs. And in fact, we have a crypto economics where like when you want to consume multiple AVSs, your costs actually lower. So that's the four sides. Talked about stakers, operators, AVS developers, consumers. It's extremely difficult to bring this ecosystem together, and yet here we are today where each side is thriving, and there's something really interesting going on here. At the center of all of this is the EIGEN token, which is the coordination mechanism to align all these different parties to work together. And one of the things we figured out is, what is this EIGEN token? Is it just a regular ERC20 token sitting on Ethereum? No. The EIGEN token is designed to uniquely promote more innovation in the EigenLayer ecosystem. And what is this new innovation for? So if you think about what EigenLayer is like people stake ETH and then make a promise that they're going to run a service correctly. But if you want to slash them, you can only do it for on-chain observable tasks. But there are many tasks which are not on-chain observable, but only human observable. Think of Polymarket, and you want to bet on who wins the US presidency. How do you know? How does the blockchain know whether Trump won or Harris won? How do you know that? How does the blockchain know? You have to either have like a token group of token holders vote on it, but what if they all lied? What if a majority of them colluded and gave you the wrong answer? You put in a committee, you don't want to trust a committee. So what we do is we invent a new mechanism called slashing by token forking, where if a majority of these token holders collude and make invalid promises, then they will lose their value by forking the token. But forking the token should not be done lightly, because your token may be on Coinbase, your token may be on trading on a DEX, it may be in a lending platform. And you want to make sure that you can actually all of these work together correctly, even though your token's forking. And that's exactly what the EIGEN token does. That's why we call it the universal work token. And it unlocks much more innovation than what EigenLayer was originally possible to do. Now, when, normally on EigenLayer, if you want to write a service, you need to write a fraud proof and a slashing contract. But for many, many things, imagine I'm building a game. I need to write a fraud proof for a game, very difficult. Databases, MEV engines, all of these things are very difficult. You can do all of them with EIGEN staking. And human observable faults, there are faults that we pointed out earlier that simply cannot be observed on chain, like data availability, sequencing, prediction markets, AI, huge category, can be built with EIGEN staking. Finally, our vision is not just to build a restaking platform. Our vision is to try to build humanity's coordination engine. What do we mean by that? If you look at any successful complex system, like take the USA, for example, you have this underlying layer of coordination, like the constitution, like the government. And on top of it, there is a layer of innovation, the free market, where people can create and trade goods and services freely. And when you look at what technology has done, it has massively accelerated the innovation layer because technology is leveraged to the free individual. However, coordination mechanisms are all centuries old. Think of gold, think of money, think of common stock corporation, think of double entry accounting, think of the constitution. And tech platforms are no good. They're all autocracies run by single monarchs. What do? We want to provide an alternative. And EigenLayer is here to build global, internet-native, self-enforcing coordination systems. Coordination systems which do not trust an authority, which do not trust a majority, which do not trust a committee. They enforce themselves correctly. That's what we're here to build. And we're really glad you're here with us on this journey to invent. Thank you.